on!
Men tried to explain it. Some called it fate. Others blamed poor management or foreign workers. Engineers experimented with new blasting methods. Supervisors pushed for faster output. Speed became priority. Safety became secondary. Solutions meant to
We
save
should be able to get this done by next
often
spring.
cost
Agreed.
lives.
Then we can move on to the next
Fear
phase.
changed behavior. Workers refused certain assignments. Fights broke out in camps over pay and rations. Rumors of sabotage spread. Trust thinned between laborers and railroad companies. Survival became personal. Division hardened. Immigrant groups were blamed when accidents occurred. Chinese workers faced hostility despite carrying the most dangerous tasks. Irish crews competed for safer routes. In hardship, unity fractured. The impact reached beyond the camps. Supply towns collapsed and crews moved on. Ranches lost men to the rails. Small settlements waited for trains that never arrived. The land itself bore scars, cuts through mountains, bridges over chasms. Eventually, the line was completed, the final spike driven. Crowds cheered, but the tragedy did not end in victory. It faded into memory. The camps dissolved. The dead remained scattered along thousands of miles of track. The world that followed was transformed.
Calling me a liar!
Travel shrank from months
I'm calling
to days.
it as I see it.
Markets expanded. Migration accelerated. The railroad
Did you hear what happened
reshaped
down Millard Creek?
economics,
No, what?
culture, and power. It turned isolation into connection. But beneath every locomotive's whistle lay the echo of hammer blows and snow and desert. Today, steel still crosses the continent. Trains move where men once bled and froze. We call it infrastructure. We call it development. But how often do we remember the cost carved into the land? History is not just dates and milestones. It is breath and cold air. It is hands gripping iron in the heat. To understand the rails that shaped a nation, we must look at the men who survived laying them. The West was not conquered by vision alone. It was endured. And somewhere along every track that stretches toward the horizon, the question remains, what are we willing to sacrifice in the name of progress? Snow explodes down the mountainside. Men run, boots sinking into white silence. A rope snaps. A body disappears in the storm. Wind screams across unfinished tracks. Someone shouts a name that the mountain does not return. By nightfall, only the rails remain, half buried, cold, indifferent. This was not a battlefield. It was a railroad camp in the American West in the 1860s. Men were not fighting an army. They were fighting distance, weather, rock, hunger, and time. The Transcontinental Railroad was being carved across deserts and mountains, and it would bind a continent together. But before it united cities, it broke bodies. Before it created opportunity, it demanded survival. The 1860s were not an era of collapse. America was expanding with furious momentum. The Civil War had ended. Industry was rising. Cities were swelling with ambition. Investors dreamed of steel lines stretching from ocean to ocean. The railroad was progress itself, modern, unstoppable, inevitable. From the outside, it looked like triumph already written. Commerce depended on movement. Goods flowed through eastern ports. Wagons crawled west. Telegraph wires stitched news across states. Towns rose along proposed rail routes, anticipating prosperity. The belief was simple. Lay the track, and civilization will follow. That confidence pushed men into landscapes barely mapped. The true threat began far from boardrooms and political speeches. It began in the mountains, in the deserts, in the brutal climate of a continent still wild. Snow fell in walls, heat split the earth, rock resisted iron. Nature did not negotiate. The point of contact was the frontier line itself, a strip of steel cutting into emptiness. Camps sprang up overnight. Workers hammered spikes into wooden ties, one strike at a time. Every mile laid felt like conquest, but every mile carried risk. Explosions in tunnels, heat stroke on the plains, frostbite in high passes. The danger spread with the line. Across the Sierra Nevada, Chinese laborers drilled through granite. On the plains, crews faced storms that erased entire camps. In desert stretches, water vanished. Progress moved forward, but so did exhaustion. Graves appeared beside unfinished tracks.